Are you ready for some Halloween magic?
Hey there, and welcome back. So, today we're going to talk about custom actions in NESmaker, and I have a few pretty good ideas. So let's get to it. Okay, so here I have a fairly vanilla NESmaker game. I'm using Synesthist's new camera handler, and I'm using my own custom input scripts, the ladder shimmy input scripts, if you know about those, and a few other things. But all in all, fairly vanilla NESmaker. So let's take a look at this game now. So here we go. We have this little magician guy, and he can jump and shoot, so really nothing special so far. And then we have a few enemies. Nothing special. I can shoot this guy and he explodes. So, and then we have this guy, shoot and he explodes. So, that's what I have so far. Now, if you noticed, both of those enemies were moving left. That's all they were doing. Now, the bat looked like it was flying because it is set up for ignore gravity. But they're both just moving left. So let's take a look at this goblin guy. Let's look at object details and actions. So if we look at what action he's set up with, it's move left. So what other actions can we choose? Oh, null, that's nothing. Move random, okay. And stop moving. So basically, we have move left. We can't choose this move random, but yeah, we don't have a lot of choices here by default. So we need to do something about that. But the good news is that we have a lot of empty actions here. So we can make a lot of custom actions ourselves. So let's do that. Now, I'm gonna start simple. So, for example, here is my player. Now, when my player gets hurt, I often use some sort of bounce thing. So when it's hurt, he doesn't just get pushed back in a straight line. I want him to get pushed back, but also have a little bounce as well. So here in on my player object, actions, action step 7, the hurt action step, I don't have any action for that yet. So now I need to make a bounce action. Now this could be used for example, if you want a monster to be able to jump, something like that. So the way we create custom actions, start by going to project settings, and then here under project labels we have something called action types. Now I'm going to choose this first free action. That's AI behavior 04. So I'm going to select AI behavior 04 and I'm going to call it, I'm just going to call it bounce. Like that. Okay. So now if I go back to my player object details, actions, and go to action step 7, now I can select bounce here from the list. Now of course the problem is that the action bounce here obviously doesn't do anything. It's called bounce, but it doesn't do anything. So we need to do something about that. We need to make our own script. So I'm going to go to my NESmaker folder, and then I'm going to go to my game engine data folder, routines, base 45, game, mod Metroidvania, and AI. So basically there's nothing here. The move left action that comes from the platformer module. So I'm just going to right click, new text document, and I'm going to call this bounce, and I'm going to replace the .txt at the end with ASM. So now I have a blank assembly file. So I'll just open that, and I'll start with a comment saying that this is the bounce. Yeah, bounce AI. Right, so what should we write in here? Well, let's cheat a little bit. Let's make this easy for ourselves. So I'm gonna go to NESmaker now. And here in my scripts, input scripts, I have my jump input script. So I'm gonna copy the part from the jump input script that makes the player jump. Only that part. So I'm just gonna open the jump input script, and the jumping part is all the way at the bottom, down here, under do jump. So from LDY object type, X, these lines here are what actually makes the player jump. So I'm going to copy those lines here. I'm going to copy those, go back to my bounce AI file, and paste them in like that. And that's my bounce action. So now I have I have an AI action type called bounce, and this is actually going to make the object bounce. Now there's something another cool thing about the way we did it now. I'm going to show you in just a second. But now we have the bounce AI file. Now I need to go to project settings, script settings, because I need to assign this new file to the correct action type. So if I scroll down to where it says AI behaviors, there's AI behavior 4, and that's the one that I renamed here under project labels. I called it bounce. So AI behavior 4. If I go back to script settings now and select AI behavior 4, then I just go over to the right here, base 45, game, mod Metroidvania, AI, and there is my bounce action script. So I'm just going to double click the bounce action script, and now I have assigned that to that action. So now I have a new action type that actually works. Now, what was that I said about another cool thing that I was going to show you? Well, since we did it this way, by copying that part from the jump input script, this actually takes whatever jump strength you set up for an object and uses that. So for example, if you have a monster that you want to jump really high, it will actually observe that setting. So if I go to my player object now, object details. Now we know that this works in the normal jump script. That's no problem. But now, if you do it this way, it also works as an AI action. So if I make a monster now, if I make a monster and for jump speed I set some whatever number, that's the jump strength that it's going to have when it uses this action. But I'm going to use this action now for when my player gets hurt. So first, if you look at the hurt now, it's set to null. So nothing's going to happen except for a knockback. So let me just quickly test that so we can see the difference. There we go. So now I'm gonna get hurt here. and there's the monster. So I have an animation, but you can see I was just pushed back. No bounce. Right. So now, what if I set action step 7, the hurt action step. If I set action to bounce right now, that should work, right? Okay, let's try. Let's see. Okay, so I'm walking around, gonna get hurt, and I didn't bounce. So the reason for that is it's just a small tweak we need to do to the player hurt script. So I'm just gonna go to project settings, script settings, and under common, handle player hurt. I need to edit handle player hurt, because down here under where it says recoil in the player hurt script, I need to comment out the 2 lines that resets the vertical speed. I don't want the hurt script to mess with the vertical speed now, because I have this new action type. So I just comment out those 2 lines here under recoil, the 2 lines that has to do with vertical speed. So now if I comment those out and save the file, now my hurt bounce should work. So now let's test it again. All right. So will I get some bounce hurt now? Yes, I did. So hit this guy and I get thrown up in the air. Exactly what I wanted. Great. So, and this comment out thing is of course only if you want to use that for the player hurt. If you want to have a bounce for the player hurt. The bounce actions type, that works perfectly fine. So you can use this at any monster, any object you want. Okay, so now we have one new working action type. That's great. Now let's replace this goblin with something else. I'm gonna replace this guy with oh, I don't have an enemy. Okay, let's just set this goblin guy up. Alright, you know what? He's moving left. That's fine. But what if we could make this guy, instead of him just moving left, what if we could make this guy sort of follow the player, move towards the player? Well, I think there are several scripts like that on the NESmaker forum. And I actually have one of those myself. So let's go to the NESmaker forum now. Okay, so here is a script that I made for platform modules. I called it simple move towards player. So here in my tutorial I say move towards, make a new file called move towards player.asm. So I'm just going to copy that, go back to my folder here, my AI folder under mod Metrovania. And I'm going to right click, create a new text file. And I'm going to replace that with move towards player.asm that I just copied from the forum. And then I open this new file, which of course is blank. Then I go back to the forum. And then I just copy this code here. Like that. And paste it here in this new AI file. Move towards player. And save that. So here in the tutorial I also talk about that we have to assign this script to a new action type in script settings. and we need to rename an action label. So let me just do those things now. So go back to NESmaker, project settings, project labels, action types. So now I need to choose the next free action, which is AI behavior 5. So I'm going to rename that to move towards player. Also, I'm going to go to script settings, and I'm going to go down to let's see here, AI behaviors. So AI behavior 5. That's the one I just renamed to move towards player. So select AI behavior 5, go to game, mod Metroidvania, AI, and select the script move towards player. Double click on that to assign it. Okay, so now we have a new action type. Now if we look at object details now, we have a new action called move towards player. Now you would probably think that just by selecting this, now he's gonna follow the player wherever he goes. Well, yes and no. It won't track the player like that. Let's go back to the tutorial. Here I say that we need to set up some action steps to reflect this. Meaning that if I set up move towards player as an action step for this guy, then that action needs to repeat on a certain interval. So I'm going to say that when the animation is finished, then, so here at end animation, I'm going to choose repeat. So when the animation is over, then it repeats this script, and then it's going to go walk in the direction of the player. When the animation is over, that's going to happen again. So he won't be constantly tracking the player, but fairly steady intervals. So if I set move towards player and repeat at the end of the animation, let's see what that looks like. So okay, so the error message was that the value is out of range. Okay, so the value out of range error is usually, I would say almost 100% of the time, that there's not enough room on the cartridge, on the RAM that you're selecting. And usually we're talking about bank 1F. So to fix this, I'm going to do the move doLoadScreen to bank 16. Now that's a tutorial by James Ness, and I have done a video about that before, so I'm just going to leave a link to the tutorial on the NESmaker forum. So I'll see you after I've done that. Okay, so now I have moved doLoadScreen to bank 16. Now the reason I have to do that, like I said, because the bank fills up very quickly in bank 1F, and in fact in the Metroidvania module it's almost full from the get-go. So if you're gonna make some custom AI actions, you probably need to do the move doLoadScreen thing anyway. But I've done that now. So now let's see if this move towards player thing works. As you remember, we just set up a new action for this guy, move towards player, which he will repeat whenever the animation is over. So let's see if that works. So there is the goblin. So what if I jump over him now? Yeah, he turned around. So he is in fact moving towards the player. So that's great. So now we have two new working AI types. Now I'm going to show you one more, and it's a one I call create object. Now it's actually, depending on how you do it, this can be used for a lot of different things. But what I want to do, I have these, I don't know if you can see it because it's so dark, but I have these little houses or whatever, crypts or whatever they are, with a little door here. I thought it would be cool if I could create a spawner object here that's going to spawn some skeletons. This is a new monster I have here. So I have actually created an object here. Now it's just a blank object. It doesn't have any graphics. But, and I called it skeleton skeleton spawner. But if I go to object details now, and here under actions, I made sure to check ignore gravity, so this object won't fall. But it doesn't have an action. It says do nothing for 6 on the timer and then advance. Well, that's probably a good idea, because it's gonna wait a few seconds before it spawns something. Yeah, that's perfect. So wait 6 and then advance. We go to the next action step, ignore gravity again. But here it says action null. Now for this action I need a new one, and I'm going to use this new thing I'm going to create called create object. So close. I'm going to go to project settings, I'm going to go to action types, AI behavior 6, and I'm just going to call this one create object. So now I need to go to my game mod Metroidvania AI folder, and I'm going to create a new file here. Right click, new text document. I'm going to call it create object.asm, like that. Open it and create object, like that. So like I said, depending on how we do this, we could do this in a very advanced way. So we could have made a table, for example. So this script would look at the table and see, okay, so this object should create that object, and this object should create that object. So we could use this for several different things. Now I'm just going to show you a much simpler thing today. So this create object script is only going to create the skeleton monster. So the way I'm going to do that is, remember the invisible spawner object. This is the one that's going to run this script. So this is the guy, invisible guy, I'm going to place in front of the door here on this script. I'm going to place it right in front of this door. Like I said, it's invisible, so you won't see it. So at certain intervals, it's going to create a monster object. So it's going to look like the monsters are coming out of this door. So the way I do that here in the create object AI script is really simple. I just say load a object x high comma x. We've done this many times before. So I'm just loading the x position, storing that into temp A. I'm just going to copy this, paste it in, and instead of the x, I'm going to load the y position, store the y position in temp B. And finally, I need load a object screen comma x. So what's x position, what y position, and what screen. this spawner object is on. I'm going to store that in temp C. So now I have the correct position for this spawner object. So let's see what object I want to create. Now this first one, as you know, those are game objects. We have 16 from 0 at the top to 15 down here. And then when we continue with the monster objects, that's 16 for the first one. So I'm going to create the skeleton. So 16, 17, 18. This skeleton, that's object 18. So back here in my create object script, by the way, usually when when you're creating objects, you should probably do this. Now, if you have watched my assembly course videos, you know what this is. TXA, PHA, PLA, TAX. So we're putting the value in the X register onto the stack, and we're doing something else, loading something else into X here. When that's done, we need to pull back the value that was in the X previously before we continue on here. So you should usually do that when you're creating objects in NESmaker. So here I'm going to write create object on screen, this macro, we've seen it before. Temp A, that's X position. Temp B, that's the Y position. And now is what object? Now I've just found out that the skeleton, that's object 18. So I'm gonna say 18 for that. Our next argument is what action step should it spawn with. I'm gonna say action step 0. And the last argument is what screen. Well, we already have the screen in temp C, so temp C. So that's my create object AI step, action step. Now I need to go back to NESmaker, project settings, script settings, and I need to assign this to, let's see, AI behaviors, AI behavior 6. And just to double check, I'm gonna go to project labels, action types, and yes, I did rename that here, AI behavior 6. So back to script settings and AI behavior 6. I'm gonna go to game, mod Metroidvania, AI, and this new create object action type. So now this should work. So if I go back to my map now and I try to first let's double check the monster group. Okay, so I have the skeleton spawner object in my monster group. So if I go to my crypt here, actually this might be a little too close. Let me just move it a little bit like that. I think that should be okay. So now I'm gonna place the skeleton spawner object right in front of the door to the crypt. So we can't see it because it's invisible, but right here there's an invisible spawner object and it's set to ignore gravity. It's not going to do anything except for at regular intervals it's going to create this skeleton monster. Now let's see if that works. Actually, you know what? We should do one more thing. Here in the create object script, we need to do something. Because I don't want this spawner object to create 100 objects. That's going to totally crash the game. So I'm going to limit this to, let's say, 3. If there are 3 objects, 3 monsters on the screen, this is not going to spawn anymore. So the way I do that is by using another macro called count objects. And these are the the object flags. So we have persistent, player, player weapon. And this next one is monster. So I'm just gonna say monster object. So we count it, and I'm gonna say compare to 3. That's gonna be the maximum. I don't want to create any more skeletons if there are 3 monsters already on the screen, because already on the 4th monster you're gonna have a little bit of slowdown. Alright, so here down at the bottom I'm going to say done create object. So here, count objects, how many monsters are there? Are there 3? So branch if carry clear, that's branch if it's less than 3, and I'm gonna say can create object. Can create object, like that. Now, if there are 3 or more, we're gonna skip this. So jump, done, create object. So now we're making sure that this won't create 100 skeletons. Okay, now the exciting part. Does this work? Let's see. Let's see. If this works like it should, the skeletons should come out of the crypt. Let's see. First we have these guys. Whoops. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, let's get this guy out of the way, and now. It didn't work. You know why? Because in my skeleton spawner object here, object details, actions, I forgot to set set the action here. So set create object for the new action here. So first it's gonna do nothing, then advance to the next action step, and then create object. I actually have to select it. Alright, let's try that again. Okay, here we go. Now, let's see. There we go. Skeletons are coming out of the crypt. That's perfect. So, there you go. That's how you can create custom AI or action types. Now, obviously, I can't show you everything because you're probably gonna figure out your own action types. But at least now you have 3 examples you can use as inspiration or whatever. So, hopefully you can see the point. We can make a lot of custom action types ourselves. And now you know the process of how you can do that. So, that's it for now. Have a happy Halloween. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.